The objective of this demo is to demonstrate the integration of VMware SRM with Eyeglass API for protecting VMs with NFS mount from Isilon cluster. These are the settings requirements for this short demo. VMware Site Recovery Manager servers, storage replication adapters for SRM, and for this case, Isilon SRA, vCenter servers, ESXi hosts, protected VM with NFS mounted from Isilon cluster, custom recovery step for SRM that will be execute the Eyeglass access zone failover through the Eyeglass API CUL command, and for this we need to install the CUL program on SRM servers. For handling the name resolution for Eyeglass access zone failover, we have configured DNS dual delegation. And for the Eyeglass post failover script, we have created and enabled the Node.js script together with this Node SSH module. Now we want to show you the setup diagram for this demo. In this diagram, we can see there are two sites, protected site and recovery site. Each site has SRM server with SRA component, vCenter servers, ESXi host, and Isilon cluster. And this Isilon cluster provide the storage for the NFS data store that is mounted to this ESXi host, as well as the NFS export mounted to this VM guest OS. We can see from this diagram there are two SyncIQ replication flows. These two to represent two types of Isilon SyncIQ replication, failover, and fallback management. The orange color one is for NFS data store, managed by the VMware SRM through the Isilon SRA. The blue-green color one is for NFS export mounted to the VM guest OS, managed by the Eyeglass. The next diagram is a setting prior to failover. We can see here that the protected VM is running on the NFS data store from the primary cluster. And there is also NFS export mounted to this VM guest OS. And the SyncIQ replication pairs have also been configured and they are in operation to replicate data from primary to secondary cluster. The next diagram is for failover process. We can see in this diagram there are two types of numbered processes. The dark blue numbers is to represent processes managed by the VMware SRM, and the dark green letters is to represent processes managed by the Eyeglass. This is integrated as part of the SRM recovery step. Later in this demo, we will show you that the Eyeglass failover is initiated through executing command that is called as the SRM custom recovery step. We will highlight some of these numbered processes here. For more details, you can refer to the Eyeglass online documentation. Process number 1 to 5 are performed as the default VMware SRM recovery steps. Number 1 is to power off VM on protected site. 2A to set the protected data store to read-only mode. 2B is to unmount this protected data store. Process number 3 is to replicate the latest update to the recovery site. And number 4, to set the recovery data store to read-write mode. And then process number 5 is to power on this VM on this recovery site. Process with letter A is the process of initiating Eyeglass access zone failover for failing over the NFS export mounted to the VMware OS. This command is initiated through this custom recovery step. And to initiate the Eyeglass failover through the Eyeglass API command. Process with letter P here is the process of executing the Eyeglass post failover. This is to refresh the NFS mount to the VMware OS. The next diagram is for failback process. We can see here that the diagram is similar to failover process, but now it is in reverse direction. One thing to note that for VMware SRM, we also need to run the reprotect step after failover and before failback, and also after failback. Basically, this is to reverse the protection. Now, we will run a demo for that. We can see from this SRM setup, there are two configured sites, protected site and recovery site. Under Array Managers section, we can see Isilon SRA has been configured on the protected site as well as on the recovery site. A protection group has also been configured to protect this test VM. Now let's take a look at the recovery plan. These recovery steps also include the custom steps, the Eyeglass failover part. Step number 12. This is a custom command step. This is to call a batch CURL file. Basically, this is to execute the Eyeglass API CURL command. This is the example of the batch file that can be used for this custom recovery step. So we can see here there are two different commands. One is for failover and the second one is for failback. This command is the Eyeglass API CURL command. For this Eyeglass failover and failback, we need to specify the source ID and the target ID of the Isilon clusters, as well as the ID of this access zone that will be failed over. For the failback, we just need to reverse the direction. Step number 13 is a custom prompt step. Basically, this SRM will prompt a message. As we can see here, this is the message, and it will wait for the response. Basically, this to prompt a message that the Eyeglass failover job has been completed. And once confirmed, we can respond to this prompt. And once responded, the SRM will continue to process the remaining steps. Now let's take a look at the protected VM itself. NFS export is mounted to this guest OS. And this NFS export is mounted from the primary Isilon cluster. Okay, we can see this IP address. Eyeglass appliance has been configured to manage this SyncIQ replication for this NFS export. Now for the Eyeglass, We can see from this window that we have created an API token for Eyeglass. This API key will be used as the token header for our CURL commands. And we have created a post failover and failback Node.js script to refresh the mounting of the NFS export on the VM's guest OS after failover. As we can see here, we have also enabled this post failover script, so it will be executed as part of the Eyeglass failover and failback procedures. Currently, this test VM is running on the primary side. It is residing on the primary Isilon cluster. And we want to do a failover, a planned migration, so then this VM will be failed over and run on the secondary side from the secondary Isilon cluster. And the NFS export on this guest OS will be also failed over and mounted from the secondary Isilon cluster. Now we want to start this failover process. Okay, we want to confirm that we want to run this recovery and then start. From this window, we can monitor the status of each recovery step for this failover job. So this is the first step to pre-synchronize the storage. The next step is to shut down VMs at protected site. And then restore the recovery site host from standby and then prepare protected site VMs for migration. Then synchronize the storage from primary to the secondary, from protected site to the recovery site. For this replication, the SRM is utilizing the SRA to communicate to the Isilon to coordinate this sync IQ replication failover. And then change recovery site storage to writable to set as the read-write mode. The next step is to bring up this VM on this recovery site. Here we can see that the SRM recovery process has executed the custom recovery step, which is to initiate Eyeglass failover. And a prompt is given and waited for our response. This is to let us verify the status of Eyeglass failover job. We can check the status of this Eyeglass failover job from Eyeglass UI or using the Eyeglass API command. Okay, so now we want to get the ID of this failover job, and then we want to get the status of this job ID. Okay, we can see here that this eyeglass failover job has been started, and we need to wait for a while until this job is completed. Later on, we will check again the status of this job. Alright, you can see here this eyeglass failover job is already completed, and the status here is success. So now we want to respond to this SRM prompt, and then you can see here recovery complete. So we want to verify that this VM is up and running on the recovery side. Yes, it is. It's running here. Alright, now we want to check the NFS export. Yes, it's there. Now this VM is accessing the NFS export mount from the secondary cluster. We can follow the same step for fallback processes. We just need to reverse the direction. Before executing the fallback process, we need to run the VMware SRM reprotect. Basically, this is to reverse the protection for NFS data store. Okay, confirm that we want to do this reprotect process, and then start. So we can see here that this reprotect is to reverse the direction of this protection. So now the recovery side becomes the protection side, and the protection side becomes the recovery side. Okay, done. So now we are ready for fallback. So the fallback is the same thing. We run it from this recovery task. Okay, confirm and start. So the steps here is actually the same one as the failover, but just reverse the direction. Okay, shut down VM at protected site because the recovery site become the protected site now. So now is shut down the VM. Restore host from standby means to restore the recovery site that previously actually the protected site host from standby, and prepare VM for migration, and now synchronizing the storage from the secondary Isilon cluster to the primary Isilon cluster. Okay, and also change the mode for the storage on the recovery side, means the primary Isilon cluster, to read and write, okay, writable, and then trying to power on the VM. Okay, after executing the custom command for Eyeglass failback process, now the SRM prompts the message to verify the Eyeglass status for Eyeglass itself. So now we want to verify the status of this Eyeglass failback job. Okay, same thing. We want to use the Eyeglass API. First, to get the running job, to get the ID of this running job. Okay, and now we want to verify based on this ID. Oh, this is the job ID of this failback process. Okay, you can see here that the job is started. Okay, and it will check again the status of this failback process. Okay, so you can see here that this failback process has finished. Okay, and the status is also success. Okay, now we want to respond to this prompt. Okay, so we will want to confirm that the eyeglass failover means the failback has completed. It's done, recovery complete. Now we want to verify from the VM guest OS. Okay, after this failback. Okay, so okay, we want to verify the NFS export mounted to this guest OS. Okay, we can see here it is mounted actually from this primary Isilon cluster. Okay. Okay, so this IP address is from the primary Isilon cluster. You also can see from this picture, yes, so this is the VM is already up and running on this primary site. Okay, so this is the original protected site. Okay. Again, don't forget for this VMware SRM, after failback, we need to run the SRM reprotect to reverse the protection. Okay, so now we want to run the reprotect. Okay, confirm. And start. So this is another round to reverse the direction of the protection. So now back to the original status, means the protected side is the primary side and the recovery side is the secondary side. So replication is from the primary cluster to the secondary cluster. Okay, done. Hope this short demo gives you an idea on how to integrating VMware SRM and Eyeglass API in protecting VMs that has NFS export mounted to the guest OS itself. So we can see here that this solution is not only managing the failover of the NFS data source and to bring the VM back online on the recovery side, but also to perform the failover even for the NFS export mounted to the VM guest OS. For further information, including the complete list of commands and sample scripts, please refer to our Superna Eyeglass online documentation. Thank you.